What's up, everyone? You're listening to the Noizze Podcast Network, sponsored by Stereobrain Records. You're about to listen to my interview with Luna Priestley, well known for her contributions to music through involvements with the running of Stereobrain Records, DJing as Luna Tunes in Cardiff's local rock club Metros, involvement as A&R for Alcopop Records, and of course, the organiser for PWER Festival. We caught up on everything Luna has going on at the moment. We talk about PWER Festival 2022, our involvement and its highlights, and of course set our sights on next year's return after the very special and almighty year it was this year. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Noizze Podcast and at Noizze UK. We're now also on Instagram, and you can follow us at Noizze Podcast Network. Like and subscribe on YouTube, and be sure to listen wherever you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Noizze Podcast Network. I'm sat here with Luna Priestley once again. I feel like actually you've almost been on enough to be, kind of like a guest, a regular guest. I feel like you're entering.
Maybe I should have my own show.
Oh, don't stop. I mean, yeah, I would absolutely say yes, but knowing how much you've got going on, I just feel like I need to look after you and say no. I feel like if I offered you anything, you'd take it straight away and just be like, yes, 100%. And then it would be like on the list of already 100%. The last time I introduced you, that was almost the whole podcast.
Yeah, there's actually things potentially being added to that soon as well.
Of course there is. But
concerning. Of course there is.
Of course there is. Before I get into that, how are you?
I'm okay. This is like my last work thing before I'm on holiday for a week, and it's like my first, I wasn't working in the pandemic, but it wasn't a holiday. So it's like holiday since 2019. So like it's been a while.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to like having a week off. I put my out of office on my emails. Off to 2000 trees next week. I'm just gonna go and chill in a field with no signal for a week. It's gonna be excellent.
I mean, that's the right kind of switch off that you need sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But otherwise, yes, excellent. All things going well.
Lovely.
Many things in the work as usual.
I know. You couldn't help yourself though. I know, like sometimes you give it a bit of an eye roll, but you're actually like, if I can't imagine what time off looks like for you. I mean, even when you've got time off, you're having to take yourself to a field and
watch music anyway.
Yeah. Right.
Well, the funny thing is, I'm going to trees. I'm working at trees.
Of course you are.
I'm working on the merch stand. And doing various bits throughout the weekend, seeing bands for work and stuff. But like really close to site, I physically can't take more than that off. It's like I have to be doing something.
Yeah, I get that.
I just get bored otherwise.
Yeah, we're cut from the same cloth. I know. I can relate. And you're talking about it, and I'm just happy exactly the same. Like I'd want to be doing something there. It just, it's like, I think it's in our nature, but there we are. So, I mean, before we get into it, because we're going to reflect on PWER a little bit, or PWER, should I say, which, by the way, has messed up, Sam's delivery on everything. If you watch back some of those interviews he did, the drunker he gets as the interviews go along, like the more he starts tripping up on it. And sometimes he just says both. And I was just like, well, you could have just not necessarily said it, because we'll have like logos and the titles on there. But yeah, it was funny from that perspective. We'll all get used to it in like a year or two's time, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, I mean, talk to me about some of the other stuff you've got going on, because you are busy and have a lot going on.
Yeah, so like obviously been back as usual. Which if there's anyone listening that hasn't been and it happens to be in Cardiff one night, come see me DJ. I promise I'll play some good songs, maybe.
Can confirm good songs are played.
Yeah, I do my best. And yeah, I've been working on a few bits behind the scenes for myself. Been trying to like get more back into like my DJing stuff recently. So I've been putting some mashups on TikTok and that sort of thing. And been working on some remixes and that's going to be released fairly soon, which is quite exciting. We also, on the label side, been working with a band that played PWER Festival Steppy. So that's been really exciting. I love the new single. You guys obviously featured it on your
I
tracks
wrote
to
up on
listen
that. I was
to
about
the other
to
week.
say, I picked it up and I was like, let me jump on this. I wanna hear it. And that's coming from a person that isn't necessarily kind of, when you sold it to me, you were kind of like, they've got that Idols-esque sort of early days Idols, sort of feel about them. And they're not like, generally on paper, that's not necessarily my cup of tea, but I loved it. I was really, really into the track.
Yeah. I think I'm very similar. Like I did really like, I mean, I do like Idols. I really loved their first album, really got me into them. And then for me, I sort of trailed off them a bit as with the new albums. I know a lot of people would disagree with that. It was like the rawness of that first album that really appealed to me.
Sure.
And I think what Steppy has got is something that's really like raw and exciting. So we've got some more tracks coming later in the year. We're currently working on getting some touring dates in and some merch for them and some bits like that. So that's all coming sort of autumn time. So very much in the planning stage for that. And yeah, go listen to the new single. It's really good. I know I'm biased, but it is actually really good.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I'm not biased, but it's called Slaughterhouse Motion, and it's a banger. It's clever, and I'm really excited by what might come next. So that's my unbiased opinion, but I also agree. Go and listen to it. It is. You feel free to plug that. Like that's not a shameless plug at all.
I will away.
Yeah, plug. That's fine. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What else have I been doing? Yeah, it's a weird time of year. Some for me, it's a lot of planning for freshers and autumn, and the rest of the year. So like, and then like having a holiday basically. So like, it's all planning at the moment. So exciting things to come. I don't want to sound like every local band ever. Big things are happening, but we'll see. And obviously starting putting the first bits together for next year's PWER Festival, which is
let's get to that.
We'll go into that a bit later, I think.
Let's waste no more time. Let's first of all reflect on PWER this time round. So I mean, it happened now. It feels like it happened such a long time ago. Relatively speaking, it hasn't been that long, but also much. 2 months, and it's just flown. And I've still had my head in it because we've done quite a lot of post content, on it anyway. But I mean, talk to me before I go into anything else. How was it for you as an experience from the day that it started? Because the last time that we spoke, it came out just before the festival, and you were kind of that sort of nervous excitement, apprehension, and kind of a sense of the unknown, having been out of it for so long. But jumping back in then, getting involved in the day, I know what I saw from you, but I mean, talk to me a little bit about what it was like, how it went. Did it go how you planned?
I mean, it's one of those things where I try and think back on it now. I've been thinking about this all day because I knew this was coming up, and I was like,
sure,
what do I remember from that day?
Well, not a lot potentially, but we don't have to go into that.
I was fairly sensible for the majority of the day, and I remember a lot of running on the street, just sorting things out. It's weird because I got there at like 11, started sorting bits out. Like, there was sort of like this calm before the storm, and then you guys arrived, and then some of the bands started arriving, and then it just felt like everything started happening at once, just like as doors were opening. So it's just like carnage. We had a couple of stresses. We had a band, unfortunately, we had Salt the Snail, unfortunately had to pull out on the day because of COVID, which really sucks. And obviously a couple of days before, Fort had to pull out for the same reason, which again was a real shame. but we were really lucky to have El Muno step in, who I know you guys love as well. That was
big fans,
lovely
yeah,
lads.
absolutely.
I'm a really big fan of theirs, and it's so great. Just like I just dropped them a to a trip to Cardiff this weekend, and they were like, you know what? Yeah, we all have the weekend off because we were supposed to do some writing, but you know what? We'll come up to Cardiff and play a show. Why not?
I love that.
And it was a really good day. I was honestly like astounded by the quality of every single band on the lineup, which I know is like, I booked them, but it's like, you don't know until the day sometimes. There's some bands you've never seen live before, and like, and I saw a bit of every single band, and every single band like genuinely blew me away. And every single band seemed to have such a great time and were really appreciative and really lovely. And I get so like emotional thinking about it because it was, I think it, like I said to you on the day, it was a lot busier than we thought it was going to be. We just sort of ended up having we had a lot of people turn up on the day and buy tickets, and like I just sort of got swept up in this atmosphere that happened on the street, and like it felt, to me at least, it felt incredibly special, and certainly felt like the best one we'd done. I definitely think it's the best one we've done for sure.
I mean, I agree. Well, I mean, I've got a half biased opinion of this, obviously, because we collabed on it and we brought as much of ourselves to it as we could. But I mean, from my personal perspective as well, we talked about the first time when we spoke on this podcast that we had a kind of we fired suggestions and we helped to as much as we could to try and curate the stage and then do a bit of the runnings on it. But for me personally, as you know, it was my daughter's birthday on the day, so I couldn't get there when the rest of the gang got there. But when I walked in, that atmosphere instantly hit me, and I had this a lovely moment with you when I'd kind of walked into into that atmosphere, and it just hit me. And I you were talking about how you didn't expect necessarily, because you don't, it was very evident, if you haven't heard the first podcast, listen to it again. It is very evident that you don't do this for all, you're not looking for it to be busy or for you to try and make money, so to speak. You are just doing this because you love music, and because of your passion. And we've clicked and connected on that before. So to come in, but you also have got the people there that are loving the music. For me to walk in and Night Lives had just kicked off their set, and the atmosphere and the feeling around their return, because of obviously all of the the context and circumstance for them making their return at PWER, was a really special moment. And it was filled with those pockets, with those moments that are quite notable, are quite memorable. And I spoke to the guys and they said that Dude Trips had a really, we can talk about our stage, Dude Trips had such a such a special moment watching them just kind of take to the stage, and that you could hear a pin drop, but at the same time it was absolutely brilliant. And Treehouse came on, where they had so many issues trying to get that sorted, but they had another vocalist. It ended up being one of the coolest photos that Dean shot on the day, and that haunts them for a little bit because they've got a really cool photo, but it's not of their vocalist.
Singer.
yeah and then carrying on into the night then, when Bears in Trees brought in their own crowd almost. They were the whole front 2 rows for Bears in Trees were Bears in Trees fans, and I think you talked about a lot of people buying tickets on the day. It's a testament to, I mean, how cheap and accessible the festival is as well, which is such a big, we spoke about that being such a crucial kind of point for you, that you really wanted to try and make it as accessible as possible. Testament to you for that, because that those people that you've got walking on the day, to me, kind of says it's everything that you wanted it to be.
Yeah, I think that's a fair reflection. There's obviously bits here and there which I would change and improve on, but
always,
but that's always going to be the case. It's never going to change. But like in reality, like considering we had 2 years we couldn't do it with COVID and like postponements and all of that, it felt like very, very special, and it felt for me anyway. I think a lot of it for me came from like this realization of like it kind of felt like the end of the pandemic for me. Like on a personal note, because I was like, oh, it's like we're back, like this is real, and then and I think another bit that was incredibly special for me anyway was obviously we did the after party in Metro, which we've done the last 2 years, but people have come, but in terms of like the bands stuff like that, they haven't really stuck around before, and we had like a huge number of the bands stick around and come to the after party and come for a drink. And obviously Metros is like my place of work, and they came there and had an amazing time and were just so lovely about it as well, which made it very special for me. There was a lot of shots going around and all of that kind of stuff, as it should be at an after party. I was supposed to be doing a DJ set with Nightlives, and I was a little bit too pissed and had to pass it off to my my trainee DJ. I was like, because he did the warm up, and I was like, mate, do you mind just looking after Nightlives for their set? Because I just need a minute here.
I mean, well deserved, and no one would blame you for because that's the moment that you should be able to just relax and enjoy it. I mean, you'd have probably felt pretty drunk just off the kind of adrenaline falling away.
Well, what was really weird was I mean, I think I spoke to you at sort of like 9:30, 10ish.
Being
like, I'm so knackered. I'm not doing this again. Never again. I'm too tired. I can't do it anymore. And like, I felt dead on my feet almost. And then we wrapped everything up, sorted everything. All the bands were loading out, and I went over to Metros, and then the atmosphere that we had at the festival had carried on into the after party. And I walked in and I just had this like amazing buzz of like, oh wow, like this is great. I can relax, it's done. Everything's gone well. And it was really lovely. The Do Trips lot got very drunk. They had a lovely time in Metros, I believe.
Good on them. Good on them.
From what I've heard, we introduced them to the in-house cocktail, which was a mistake. And yeah, it was just a really lovely time. I'd love to say something more interesting other than it was great and I had a great time, but like genuinely it was just amazing. And yeah, so many like little highlights and little bits that really like stood out for me that I'm sure we can go into.
Yeah, I mean, talk to me about it's a good point to talk about. And I've talked a little bit about our stage. I know you were kind of running around and a bit like a headless chicken, but either from your own experience or from kind of the buzz that you heard at the time and after, talk to me about some of the other highlights, some of the other bands or some of the other moments that either people have said to you or that you kind of had on the day that, really kind of stuck with you.
Well, I think the first one for me was Treehouse obviously opened your stage and the festival, and they were awesome. I really enjoyed them, and they're good pals, and it was great to see them, and they were excellent. But I also had so many people, friends who were at the festival or just people that were there, like talking about them and being like, they were great, that sort of thing. So that was that. So like for me, in terms of like the bands that stood out, in terms of the bands people were really talking about on the day, or people surprised they would be Treehouse and would be Steppy probably, and El Muno were the three to me like obviously a lot of the bands got talked about, but the three that got talked about the most were those three, in terms of like people being like, we didn't know who these people were and we've just seen them and we were blown away and we are now going to check out everything they've ever done. You know, like Do Trips obviously got a lot of love. I mean, yeah, there was plenty, but yeah, I would say those three in particular were very much loved by a lot of people as the surprise of the day. I also had one friend who said to me watching Orchards play in the Moon was his favorite gig he has ever seen.
Wow.
And he was saying it ranked above him seeing like Blackout, who were his favorite band, and Kids in Glass Houses in a small venue in Pontypridd one time. You know, he was like, that was better than that for me. I had such a good time, which, you know, is, you do these events and you want to make an impact on people and you want to, like, you know, give them a good time, but you never expect that someone's going to say, your festival was my favorite gig I've ever been to. You know, it's crazy to me.
Yeah, but I mean, we talked about that before as well, and you've been on a bit of a run really with all the festivals you have done, where there's been at least one band that has broken it, you know, sort of broken into, I say the big time, that sounds like such a bullshit thing to say, doesn't it? But a breaking band, so to speak, just to coin it with that phrase, you know, that have played and then just skyrocketed after. And it will be, won't it? You know, if, you know, Orchards are onto something really, really special. And
I think Orchards, Beds and Trees, and Dream Nails as well, like all three headliners will be doing so much. But I'll look back in a year's time, I think, and be like, oh, it's crazy they played those small venues for us.
Absolutely.
You know, and then even bands lower down on the lineup that I think, like bands like Lakes, who were in the Moon, and Oozes, who were on before Dream Nails, you know, they're bands that, like, I think, you know, in a year or two's time, it's going to be crazy that they played those small places. At least I hope so, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you've got enough of them there that one of them might do it. I mean,
I hope so.
Yeah. No, I think you're onto something. Okay, I mean, let's turn our attention to, you know, next year. So I mean, well, it's a good place to start to say, off the back of what you said to me, is that you said, I'm very exhausted, I'm not going to do this again. But do tell it how you felt the next day and beyond that, and talk to me about, since in the last 2 months, what your thoughts have been about the festival. Are you doing it again next year? What are your plans with it that you can share, obviously? And is it happening, I guess, is the main thing.
Yes, it is happening.
I knew you would.
I'm pretty sure I messaged you the day afterwards. It was either the day afterwards or the Monday, being like, right, so who do we want for next year? Like,
yeah, it was pretty bloody quick, wasn't it?
Because like, I was just so buzzed. I was so excited. There are conversations going on. I wish I had more to share, to be honest. I really do. We are currently finalizing the venues for next year. So we've got 2 confirmed. We are in the process of confirming the last one. And I can tell you the date will be on, I think it's Saturday, the 6th of May, but I will double check that now on my calendar.
Fantastic. I mean, I promised you when we first did the podcast that, we had a conversation. I said, it can't be on my daughter's birthday again. And I've already had the conversation. I don't care whether I go as punter or whatever kind of person I'm going along to. I'll be there on the 6th.
Yeah.
I've already confirmed it with my wife, so we're fine.
Saturday, the 6th of May.
Yeah.
It will be on Womanby Street again. But yes, we are waiting to confirm more venues and more stages. We will obviously be seeing a return of the Noizze stage, I believe, if you're keen, but I think you are. we have already talked about this, I think, before we've come on this podcast. But it's maybe think about it. And I've confirmed two of my favorite record labels to do one of the stages, but that's all I can say for now.
I feel like you've given quite a good amount considering it's at such an early stage, to be honest.
And yeah, the plan is to have the third stage be curated by someone who I was a Cardiff legend. So we'll keep that one under wraps. Someone who's very important to the Cardiff. Someone who's very important to the Cardiff music scene anyway. We had a conversation last week about that, so that could be very exciting. I don't want to give too much away, but things are certainly underway, and there's a few quite spicy ideas for the lineup. That's all I'll say. There's a few bands that obviously didn't get to play this year that I think we want to have back. A few bands that we couldn't fit on the lineup this year because we didn't have space that we definitely want to have for next year. And then plenty of new bands that I've got my eye on, and I'm sure you've got plenty you've got your eye on too. But yeah, I think it's going to be. I'm hoping we can go up another level from last year. That's the plan.
I mean, I think it's really cool. I mean, I know that it was probably a stressful experience for you in some ways, and brings with it its own set of kind of complexities and things like that. And we talked about the road to PWER being a really, really long one for this festival, in particular for 2022. So for you to come off that feeling buzzing, and then not to necessarily say, right, that was way too much. I love the fact that you're kind of obviously with the details that you've given here, at least. I love that you're sticking with the multiple venues idea. I love that you're sticking in, Cardiff's heart of music, so to speak, or live music at least. And I love the idea that you're working with like-minded people to bring the same sorts of bands on a sort of more, stable sort of stage. I think that those key factors really worked for it this year, and I think it will work again next year.
I think like what's made it easier for me being like, I want to do this again, is having you guys on board and having those two record labels I talked about be like, yeah, we want to do this, and being like, okay, well, whilst I am doing it for my love of music and wanting to do this event, like there are other people out there that want to do this too, which is a nice feeling, and it really like eggs me on, I guess, to be like, yeah, let's go, let's do it again.
Yeah, I mean the collaboration front works, but I mean otherwise, we already know that you're very, very busy, and you chew off this whole thing all on your own. So being able to do that and have others to bounce off, and like-minded collaborators, people as passionate as you, we spoke about those parts being the parts of it that make it really, really special. Now it's happened, and reflecting on that, it's so cool to see how that came across and how that was shared with those that attended on the day, and fans and new fans and the bands, and artists. So for that to kind of continue, but to broaden slightly, which I'm gathering is the sort of the ideas that you've got, to just, because it's always been a quite a sprawling festival in terms of its genres and in terms of what sort of musicians and artists you're bringing in. It's continuing, it's growing, it's feeling good. I love that. I think that's you're on to an absolute winner. So there'll be a lot of happy people to hear.
I hope so.
Happening.
I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, hopefully we'll have some early bird ticket news very soon. Fingers crossed.
That is very exciting indeed. Well, look, I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure. It feels like that's gone by really quick, but I feel like that's been.
It does, yeah.
We could talk for days. We've said this before.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, we will have another conversation on the podcast, I'm sure, very, very soon, and we'll be talking behind the scenes. But for everyone else, is there anything else that you have going on at the moment that you just kind of want to plug, or But people should go to Metros. I mean, that's my plug for you.
People should come to Metros. That's my come to Metros. Come see me DJ. I like to think I'm good.
No, I'll back you. Yeah, you are. I'll back you.
I wish I could plug more, but like I said, I've got to keep things under wraps, otherwise I get in trouble.
Exciting. Just keep an eye on all the right places. We'll have links in the information for this episode. Keep an eye on, not just on the PWER page, but on Stereobrain Records and Luna Tunes and everything else that Luna's got going on. It's exciting times and there's lots happening. But no, thank you again for coming on. Thank
you for having me, as always.
Love and enjoy trees, because you deserve a bit of a chill out, as much as a chill out will take.
I absolutely will. I'll have a great time.